One of the worst cases of state-sanctioned massacre is happening right before our very eyes. The media is blaring it, but they're covering it up. And other countries on the face of the earth are calling out for the arrest of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Few countries are even willing to disassociate from the International Criminal Court's Rome statutes just to have Netanyahu come visit their country, including Hungary. But the latest is that Israel kills 112 Palestinians in Gaza, including women and children. Um, Multiple Israeli attacks on school shelters in northern Gaza killed dozens, with more than half the deaths placed, which are children, women, and the elderly. Um, and you have look, at this point, it's over 51,000 deaths reported by the Gaza Health Ministry, 116,000 wounded, and of course, 1.4 million approximately displaced. If this is not one of the worst atrocities of our lifetime, I don't know what is. This is, not as bad as Iraq. Iraq was much worse to 2000, the U.S. invasion of the country in 2003. That was based on a fucking lie. At least you had a Hamas attack on October 7th. It was like they almost allowed it to happen so that they can overreact, which is exactly what they do anyway. A rocket attack from Hamas or the Palestinian Islamic Jihad or even Hezbollah, and this allows for the Israeli military to go inside an encampment surrounded by walls and fences to basically destroy certain neighborhoods within Gaza, thereby depleting the population. So this way, the world could say, well, it was a terrorist attack and they're just defending themselves. But at this point, this is not about defending themselves. And I think the reason why is simple. Why these crimes are so egregious and what's going on here. We need cooler heads to prevail, and a lot of emotions are rising. It's predictable. Okay, if you end up hating the Jews for this, for what's going on, you are no better than Hamas or Hezbollah, right? Now, all those are militant groups that are basically being the military arm of the, but they're also based on ideological preferences of eliminating, Jews from a certain area or whatever. You also have, people that are basically just racist. They hate Jews whatsoever, and they're latching on to the anti-Zionism message. That's my fear, is that in the future, this small group within the subsection of the Conservative Party who are evangelical Christian nationalists and hate Jews and think these are the Alex Jones-esque type of people. They're the New World Order. They're the communists. They're the Khazars. They're the evil people. They control the media. They control the banks. They control everything, right? So these are the overzealous people. We can't have these people anything to do with the protests against a legitimate cause, which is to stop U.S. state-sanctioned murder on a defenseless Arab civilian population in Gaza, in Israel. Okay? It's one thing to hate these people for what they're doing specifically, right? When it comes to the military. But there are Jews protesting this too. And you have a bunch of young Jewish men and women handcuffing themselves in Colombia. And Senator Randy Fine from Florida, that fat bloated piece of garbage, and others like Chris Cuomo, who are actually condoning Congress, pushing them to pass laws where if you're protesting, putting a banner on a side of a road or on a bridge, you could get 20 years. What do you think this is going to lead to? Any type of criticisms of the Israeli government will be heavily punished by the U.S. court system with pressure from the U.S. government. All right? Please don't end up just hating Jews for what's going on. It's not right. And you're not better than these idiots in Israel, in the government, who hate every single Muslim because they're Muslim. You want to defeat these people? We're going to need Jews on our side and everybody else, and we don't need to use violence. There's a lot more of us. Jim Morrison once wrote a song called 5 to 1, right? And there's a part in the song where he goes, "They got the guns, but we got the numbers. Gonna win, yeah, baby. We're taking over, right? Right? There's enough of us to protest. Morally sound, all right? That's what we need. Morally sound people. So they're slaughtering these people en masse. It's not about even hiding it anymore. They're proud to do it because nobody's holding them accountable. And you know, the latest news coming out of here now is that Benjamin Netanyahu went to an international criminal court co-signer country, Hungary. And this is what Hungary did with withdrawal from the International Criminal Court does not absolve Hungary of its legal obligation to arrest the fugitive Benjamin Netanyahu. Right? Reacting to the news that Hungary, an International Criminal Court member state, has welcomed Benjamin Netanyahu to the country without arrest and stated that it will withdraw from the courts. Angelo Calamari, the Secretary General of the Assembly International, said, quote, Prime Minister Orban is harboring a wanted fugitive, Benjamin, and that's right. Netanyahu is wanted for crimes against humanity and crimes of aggression and war crimes. Okay, so is former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Those warrants are still active. Any country that's a co-signer to the Rome Statutes, which are the preambles for the International Criminal Courts, have to detain Netanyahu or Gallant and render him to the courts. Now, the United States have already said back in 2024, when this arrest warrant was active, they said that if that were to happen, the United States would actually invade the Hague. Fucking military invading, grab Netanyahu. I mean, these people are, for those who are saying that Israel controls the United States, no. The United States are calling the fucking shots. They can easily just say, Netanyahu, let's end this shit, or you lose us, right? Not everybody is, being subjected to blackmail here, right? I would say that there's more that are not subjected to blackmail than there are. I think there are some people who the Israeli intelligence agencies are basically, have compromising, information. It doesn't have to do with anything with, sexual deviancy either. Could be, illegal money laundering or whatever. I don't know. There's all different things. But I'm just saying, right? Let's not get it twisted here. The United States is calling the shots here. And what's happening in Israel, I always said, is just a picture of the future of what's going to happen in the United States. Whatever is happening abroad, it's like as if we're going to watch what we're seeing abroad happen here. And it's just a small picture, right? Because that's why they go to great lengths to create laws and regulations, Congress and the Senate, the House and the Senate, basically fight against each other for domestic issues. When it comes to geopolitical issues, there is no left and right. And that just proves to you that there is no Democrat-Republican Party. There's only one party. That's them, right? Now, Hungary is going to propose that they withdraw from the International Criminal Courts. But again, need I remind you that there are active warrants for Netanyahu and Gallant. And, I did a video about this article here. It says Situation State of Palestine. Pre-trial Chamber 1 rejects the Israeli challenges to jurisdiction and issues the arrest warrants of Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant. This is November 21st, 2024. I did a video on this. It's in my latest news playlist. Okay. These warrants are still active. But also 3 Hamas leaders, who are in Qatar, by the way, they also have warrants from the International Criminal Courts. Now, look, for those defending Benjamin Netanyahu in the state of Israel, so my moral premise is this. Come on here. I'm not a fanatic. I report the news as is, without bias and prejudice. End of story. I talk about the crimes of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, United States, and Israel. Nobody's clean here. Okay? If you're going to say that, that school that where those 112, men, women, and children and elderly were, well, Hamas uses that building. But you've been using this line for every school, every building, every health center, every hospital, every news agency building, Every house that's bombed, Hamas is there. So you're telling me, right, that the Israeli intelligence services like the Shin Bet, the Mossad, Unit AE 200, or even the more covert program, Mr. Avrim, right? All these intelligence services, which have Gaza surrounded by military checkpoints, cameras everywhere, police everywhere, informants everywhere, basically said, wow, Hamas is literally everywhere and didn't stop the growth of this organization. Oh, but we gave Gaza back to the Arabs and they voted in Hamas. Well, that's not true either, because they still are surrounded by the Israeli military. And as for Hamas winning the election, well, you basically had no opposition because the opposition was forcibly ousted by who? The Israeli fucking government. So they came walking in, they said, we're taking over. And without Hamas there, how the fuck are they going to cleanse Gaza City? They can't just openly slaughter these people and to basically say, oh, we're going to do what we're going to do without world condemnation, right? Even the United States would basically say, hey, wait a minute, you can't go that far. But they already are now, but they're in the middle of it. But you know what I'm saying? They use this justice. Let them grow in there, let them attack Israel. Then when a big attack comes, we'll just overextend. And so when Netanyahu won his sixth term as a prime minister in December of 2023, oh, what happened, right? He chooses the most racist, most religiously evangelical Orthodox cabinet in Israel's history, by not even close, by far the most racist, the most genocidal cabinet, probably in government history, next to the Nazis themselves, or the governments under Stalin or Ho Chi Minh. These fucking what a fucking group. And you think Netanyahu's bad? Holy shit, dude! I keep saying the names: Ben Gvir, Bezalel Smotrich, Yosef Strouk. There's others, and these people are. They say right out, we got to kill every Muslim outside of the borders. Get rid of Lebanon, get rid of Syria, get rid of Iran, right? We got to get rid of all these people, kill them all. Netanyahu doesn't come out right out and say it. Like Democrats, right? The Democrats basically say, oh, we'll try to lessen the conflict. We'll try to, they don't give a shit. Republicans just say, just kill them. Well, that's what Netanyahu's cabinet is. Just like Trump's cabinet. Just kill them, right? Just come right out and kill them. You can't use the defense that Hamas was everywhere. Because if they allowed Hamas to be everywhere, then that means that the Israeli government and its military services and intelligence services suck. Or they're just committing an open-ended massacre of people and then use the excuse of Hamas to basically excuse for their crimes. And if you basically know this in the back of your crevice of your mind, then you foregone your humanity. For what? Ideology. And that's what this is all about. What ideology does, it's quite acidic and divisive. Religion, politics, racism, sexism, any catchism, any human institution, human application. And they also have another thing in common. They're not natural. They're learned applications. Because when it comes right down to it, your base state is that you're a human being. And you know the difference between right and wrong. What is happening to the Palestinians and the Arabs right now in Lebanon, in Syria, in Gaza, you wouldn't want happening to you. How would you feel if there's a military checkpoint surrounding your neighborhood? And China is doing it. And they're basically controlling what goes in, what goes out, who gets water, who does not. Living in constant paranoia because there's informants everywhere that, want a, candy bar or even just a jug of water just to inform on their neighbor. And meanwhile, missiles, bullets, flying everywhere, hitting people indiscriminately. Imagine living under these conditions. You can't because you never did. And it's easy to basically dismiss all this as sensationalist garbage because the media, CNN, Fox, BBC, MSNBC, they're all basically just whitewashing this. Now, very few, liberal, real liberal outlets are basically reporting on this half-heartedly. At least give them that. And the alt media has been very good on this. So it really comes down to one's humanity and how much more do you have left? Because if you're willing to excuse this, I can only imagine what else you're going to excuse when the shit hits the fan here. Because we are this close. And I'm not using viral media, using it from the outside perspective as well. What I see is that we are this close to a tinderbox where Democrats and Republicans can basically look at each other like Jews with Palestinians or the Israelis with Palestinians, saying, we need to arrest these people. We need to deport these people. We need to kill these people, take away their rights and dehumanize them. It's already happening here. Because the Trump supporter looks at the Biden supporter like the enemy. And all their needs now is some momentum to be pushed in this direction, where you're actually going to be informing on your fellow man or even your fucking family member that they're voting a different way. And all your secrets, all your texts, all your calls, everything, your whole history is already saved in a building in Pine Bluff, Utah, called the Utah Data Center. Where in the future, where this new government, which I think is going to happen, where there's no constitution, there's no Bill of Rights, and there's one singular government that is no longer has the executive or judicial branches. It's all one man, one party, one system that's going to have the goods on all of us. And anybody who is outside of this circle will be deemed the enemy, and it'd be easy to dehumanize. And you'll get the others to basically go in and basically agree and approve of the subjugation of these people, your own citizenry. That's what I see. That's what Orwell saw. And, I could be wrong, dead wrong. And I hope I am. But from what I'm seeing, we already are demonizing one another, whereas the opposite should happen. Democrats and Republicans should shed this label and basically realize that we need each other to fight against the real evil that is making us think this way. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in the video, and see you next video. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.